She thought bulldozing his vintage cars would break him. But she didn't know he was a retired CIA operative with a grudge and a plan to burn her world to ashes. Jack Turner didn't wear his past like a badge. It lived in the scars on his knuckles and the shadows under his eyes. For 25 years, he'd been a CIA operative, a ghost slipping through jungles and war zones, burying secrets that still woke him in cold sweats. At 50, he quit, chasing peace in a sun-scorched Austin, Texas suburb. Wide streets, cedar-heavy air, a rancher at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. There, under a gnarled pecan tree, he built his sanctuary, a wooden garage, hammered together with sweat and cold Shiner Bock, home to 3 vintage beasts. A 1969 Mustang, cherry red and snarling like a thunderstorm. A 1970 Corvette Stingray, emerald green and sleek as a predator. A 1971 Dodge Charger, midnight black and brooding with menace. Each one was his soul, restored with oil-stained hands, engines tuned to roar under the Texas sun. Those cars weren't just machines, they were his lifeline. The Mustang came from Danny, a buddy who'd taken a bullet for him overseas, his laugh echoing in its V8 growl. The Corvette was his dad's dream, finished after the old man's heart gave out years ago. The Charger, he'd rebuilt it during sleepless nights, its rumble a shield against the ghosts that haunted him. That garage was his haven, a Lone Star temple where he pieced himself back together, one bolt at a time. But peace didn't stand a chance here. The Homeowners Association, HOA, ruled like a petty dictatorship, led by Linda Grayson, a 40-something widow with a platinum bob and a tyrant smirk. She'd crowned herself queen of this upscale sprawl, her rules a chokehold on every resident. Jack's garage, with its weathered planks and faint gasoline tang, was her sworn enemy, a blight on our harmony. She'd sneered at a meeting he skipped, sipping Shiner on his porch instead. Jack didn't bow to her tyranny. He bought the place cash, no HOA leash. A 20-year-old county glitch left his lot free of their grip, a fact he'd confirmed in dusty records down at the courthouse. When Linda's letters started piling up, first polite, then edged with threats, demanding he dismantle the eyesore or face consequences, he tossed them in the trash with a chuckle. She'd tire out, he figured, like a yapping dog chasing its own tail. He was dead wrong. Friday, he roared off to Dallas in the Charger to meet an old agency pal for beers, the black beast slicing through the highway under a blazing sun. Sunday night, he rolled back under a starless sky, headlights cutting through the darkness. His stomach dropped like a stone. The garage was gone, a massacre of debris in its place. Splintered would stab the dirt like broken bones, glass shards glinted like spilled tears, and his cars lay butchered across the yard. The Mustang's hood was caved in, grill twisted into a snarl of agony. The Corvette's frame snapped like dry twigs, paint chipped and weeping. The Charger's body was a crumpled heap, crushed under a bulldozer's treads. The air reeked of gasoline and betrayal, a stench that clawed at his throat. A pickup with the HOA logo idled nearby, 2 landscapers kicking dust as they loaded chainsaws into the bed. Linda stood triumphant in the wreckage, hands on hips, platinum hair glowing under the streetlights, smirking like a hunter over a fresh kill. Jack stumbled from the truck, boots crunching glass, the world tilting under him. He spotted the Mustang's steering wheel, Danny's wheel, snapped in 2, half buried in the dirt like a gravestone. Rage erupted like a shotgun blast. His fists balled, knuckles whitening, his vision blurred red, Danny's laugh ringing in his skull, his dad's voice rasping, the Charger's growl fading. He saw himself charging her, smashing that smug grin into the mud, blood on his hands. For a heartbeat, he was back in the field, a killer unleashed. Then 25 years of steel discipline slammed down. He trembled, chest heaving, sweat beading on his brow, and locked it away, ice swallowing the inferno. He faced her, voice a guttural snarl that rumbled like distant thunder. You broke on my land, trashed my life, and you're proud of it. Linda tilted her head, smug as a cat with a mouse, her eyes glinting with triumph. The HOA enforces standards, Jack. That junk pile was a hazard. Don't expect me to cry over it. She waved a manicured hand at the crew. Finish up, boys. The truck growled to life, taillights bleeding red into the night. Jack stood rooted in the ruin, gripping Danny's wheels so tight it bit into his palm, the pecan tree rustling overhead like a mournful witness. Then he smiled, cold, sharp, a Texas storm brewing in his bones. Linda thought she'd won a skirmish. She just kicked a rattlesnake's nest. Jack didn't sleep that night, or the next. Dawn broke over his kitchen table, a Shiner box sweating beside a laptop humming with encrypted code, notes scrawled in his tight, precise hand like a battle plan taking shape. He didn't rage blind. He hunted with the cold precision of a man who'd taken down warlords and spies. Step 1. Evidence. Agency paranoia had wired his lot with hidden cameras years ago, a habit from nights when he'd slept with a gun under his pillow. He pulled the footage, time-stamped and brutal. Saturday, 2:17 p.m., Linda strutting in her crisp white blazer, barking orders as chainsaws screamed into his garage. The Mustang was dragged out first, its red paint shrieking against the gravel, tires popping under the strain. The Corvette followed, sledgehammers cracking its frame, green shards scattering like broken glass. The Charger went last, a bulldozer flattening it into a twisted heap, its black soul crushed under steel treads. Linda's smirk burned into every frame. Trespassing, vandalism, destruction of property, all caught in high def. Her face a smoking gun. It was a spark, but Jack wanted a wildfire to burn her world down. Step 2. Intel. Linda ruled this neighborhood like a cartel queen on a power trip, but every tyrant had a soft spot to stab. Jack cracked his knuckles and fired up a VPN, an old CIA trick from a tech geek in Langley who'd owed him a favor. He slipped into her HOA email account, a gray area legally, but he wasn't planning to waive it in court. He needed a lead. What he found was a tapestry of greed. $600,000 in resident dues vanishing over 3 years, landscaping fees for yards that stayed patchy, consulting services from ghost companies, emergency repairs for streets still crumbling. The money funneled into Grayson Properties, her shell company, bank transfers to non-existent vendors, cash deposits to personal accounts, receipts for Austin Country Club dues while potholes swallowed tires. She wasn't just a petty dictator. She was a white-collar thief, bleeding the neighborhood dry. He needed more dirt to bury her. Jack dialed Mike Ruiz, an FBI buddy who'd pulled him out of a firefight years back. Background check, off the books, he said, voice clipped over the line. Linda Grayson, Austin resident. Dig hard. Mike's raspy laugh crackled through. Retirement too quiet for you, Turner. By noon, the file landed in Jack's inbox. Linda had been sacked from a bank in 2009 for accounting irregularities, cooking books, skimming cash. No charges filed, but the stench clung to her like cheap perfume. She'd turned the HOA into her piggy bank, a grift polished with pearls. Step 3. The neighbors. Linda's power thrived on intimidation, but Jack heard the cracks, grumbled rants at the diner about fees doubling, streets crumbling under neglect. He invited a posse over Monday night to see the damage. Tom, a grizzled vet with a buzz cut and a temper. Maria, a single mom who'd warred with Linda over petty fines. A handful of others fed up with the rain. The footage rolled on his TV. Linda's smirk, the bulldozer's roar, the cars dying. Tom slammed a fist on the coffee table, rattling beer cans. I fought a ain't bowing to that HOA witch. Maria's eyes blazed like coals. I bust my ass for my kids, not her damn handbags. Jack slid the financial docs across the table, pages rustling. She's stealing your cash. Look where it's going. Fury erupted like a brush fire. 600 grand? Tom roared, veins popping in his neck. That's my VA checks funding her country club. Maria jabbed a finger at a bank transfer. I paid $500 a month for this bullshit. Tuesday night, they marched to Linda's porch, Tom banging her door, hollering, "Come out, you thief! Face us!" Maria screaming, "Where's our money, you leech?" A crowd swelled, porch lights snapping on. phones filming as the neighborhood woke up. Linda peeked through her blinds, face ashen, then slammed them shut, her kingdom trembling. Jack watched from his truck across the street, sipping a shiner under the pecan tree, holding his ace close. Wednesday, Linda called an emergency HOA meeting to spin her yarn, desperate to rally her loyalists. 60 residents packed the community center, the air thick with sweat and suspicion, folding chairs creaking. She took the podium, pearls gleaming, voice smooth despite the cracks. Turner's junk pile was a safety hazard. We acted for your good. He's the troublemaker here. Her cronies nodded, clinging to her shadow, until Jack stood, briefcase in hand, his silhouette cutting through the room like a blade. Silence fell, heavy and sharp. Greater good, he growled, voice a blade. Let's talk yours. He snapped the case open, pulling out a stack of papers, emails, bank records, security stills. I spent 25 years as a CIA operative, he said, pausing as gasps rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. Tracked liars and crooks across 3 continents. You think I wouldn't spot you robbing us blind? Linda gripped the podium, knuckles white, her mask twitching. That's preposterous, she stammered, but Jack steamrolled her. Jack slapped a deed copy on the table with a crack. My lot's not under HOA control, public records, right here. You had 0 right to touch my garage. But you didn't stop there, did you? 600 grand in HOA cash, funneled to Grayson Properties, your little scam. He tossed the financials down, pages fanning out like a winning hand. Explain that to them. Linda doubled down, her voice rising to a shrill pitch, arrogance her last shield. I built this neighborhood from nothing. You're all peasants without me. I'll sue every one of you. She yanked out her phone, dialing her lawyer with a trembling hand, smirking like she'd won, until Jack dropped the bomb. Go ahead. The FBI's already got this. They're real curious about your side hustle. The room detonated, Tom bellowing thief. Maria screaming, lock her up. Linda's reign was ash. Linda's kingdom didn't just crumble. It burned to the ground in a blaze of Texas fury. The meeting turned into a barroom brawl without the fists. Tom pounded the table, veins bulging like ropes. I want every damn dime back, you hear me? Every cent I bled for. Maria tore into her, her words sharp as barbed wire, years of resentment spilling out. You find me $200 for a trampoline while buying lake houses with my rent money? You're a parasite. Linda tried to rally, her polish cracking under the onslaught, her voice shrill and desperate. This is a misunderstanding. I poured my soul into this community. You ungrateful fools don't deserve me. But the crowd roared her down. Tom thundered. You poured our cash into your pockets. Maria spat. You're done, you snake. Crawl back to your hole. She bolted, heels clacking like gunfire, purse swinging wildly, straight into Sheriff Dan Carter's deputies, tipped off by Jack from an old favor years back. Linda Grayson, one drawled, hand on his holster. We need a word. Her purse hit the dirt, lipstick and keys spilling across the pavement as cuffs snapped on her wrists. This is an outrage, she shrieked, platinum hair wild, her queenly mask shattered. The crowd spilled out behind her, jeering, Tom yelling, Enjoy jail, princess. Maria hollering, Hope they lose the key. Phones flashed, filming her downfall as the cruiser's lights painted the night red and blue. Jack didn't let up. Monday morning, his city complaint brought inspectors to the wreckage, boots crunching debris, tape measures snapping as they documented the carnage. They ruled his lot free of HOA control, a 20-year-old glitch Linda had ignored, confirming her crew had smashed Texas property laws. Fines piled up fast, $80,000 base, plus environmental penalties for the oil and gas from his cars soaking the dirt, a toxic stain on her legacy. Tuesday, the FBI hit her McMansion at dawn. Doors splintered off its hinges, agents swarming like ants, hauling out a safe from her study. Inside, $80,000 in crisp bills, stacks of fake invoices, a ledger nailing Grayson Properties to the wall. She'd laundered $600,000 over 3 years, pocketing dues while sewers backed up into yards and streetlights died. Jack watched from his porch, shiner in hand, the pecan tree rustling overhead as sirens wailed her requiem. Wednesday night, the neighbors went feral at a second meeting. Linda in lockup, absent from her throne. Tom waved a dues receipt, face red as a longhorn's hide. $500 a month for 3 years. $18,000 of my VA checks for her pool boy. Maria flipped through the ledger, eyes blazing like coals. $20,000 to a ghost landscaper. My kid's college fund gone. Randy, a mechanic with grease-stained hands, stood up, fists clenched. She fined me $50 for my truck's oil drip. Where'd that cash go? Sue, a soft-spoken retiree with steel in her voice, added, my grandkids tripped in potholes she never fixed. I paid $400 a year for nothing. Jack sat in the back, arms crossed, watching the hive swarm. Tom climbed on a chair, beer raised high. She's gone. Let's kill this HOA dead. The vote was 58-2, cheers erupting as the gavel slammed, bottles clinking in a raucous toast. To Jack, our Texas liberator. Tom bellowed, grinning wide. Maria added, the man who broke the witch. Jack tipped his shiner, quiet as a storm's eye, letting their fire burn. Thursday, the news hit like a twister. HOA queen charged with fraud, vandalism. Her perp walk, cuffed, mascara streaking down her face, glaring at cameras, blew up online, racking up 1 million views in a day. Jack's phone buzzed with texts from agency pals. Still a killer. Turner buried her good. Friday, Linda plea bargained. 5 years in federal lockup, $700,000 in restitution she'd never scraped together. Her country club dreams reduced to dust. The HOA coughed up $200,000 for Jack's cars. Blood money he turned into a steel-framed garage, bulletproof glass and sensors gleaming, a fortress rising under the pecan tree like a defiant monument. Months later, the neighborhood found its footing. A resident council took over, $50 dues, potholes patched, streets lit again. Linda's McMansion sold at auction, snapped up cheap by a young couple who painted it sky blue just to spite her memory, waving at Jack as they moved in. Word trickled back. She'd slunk to Florida after parole, a pariah dodging stairs in some humid backwater, her reign a faded nightmare. Jack rebuilt the Mustang under his pecan tree. Piece by piece, bolts tightened with care, Danny's laugh ringing in every turn of the wrench. One evening, he leaned on the Charger's salvage hood, shiner cold in his grip, staring at the spot where it all went down, the Texas breeze rustling the leaves overhead. The rage was gone, burned out in the blaze of her ruin. Those cars had been his anchor through the dark. Taking her down was a mission, clean and lethal, a Texas reckoning. He tipped the bottle to the wind, voice low and final, a drawl cutting the night. Thought you'd break me, Linda? I turned you to dust. Mess with the Texans' wheels, and your roadkill. Lessons learned from a story. This story isn't just about a garage or some old cars. It's a lesson in resilience and justice. First, it teaches us that you don't have to scream or fight dirty to win. Sometimes, the sharpest weapon is patience and a clear head. Jack didn't lash out when Linda destroyed his world. He planned, he gathered evidence, and he struck when the time was right. That's a reminder. Don't let anger drive you off a cliff. Let it fuel something smarter. Second, it shows that power doesn't make you untouchable. Linda thought she could rule the neighborhood because she had a title and a clipboard, but she forgot that actions have consequences, especially when you mess with the wrong person. Finally, it's about standing up for what's yours. Jack's cars weren't just metal. They were his history, his heart. When someone tries to take that from you, you fight back. Not with fists, but with the tools you've got. For Jack, that was his CIA know-how. For you, it might be something else. The lesson? Know your worth, protect it, and don't let anyone walk over you without a fight. Meaningful message conveyed. At its core, this story delivers a powerful message. Justice isn't always loud, but it's always inevitable. It's about the little guy, or the quiet guy, turning the tables on a bully who thinks they're above the rules. Linda represents those people we've all met, the ones who hide behind authority, who push others down to feel big. But Jack? He's the proof that real strength doesn't need a megaphone. It's in the calm, calculated moves that bring tyrants to their knees. This isn't just revenge porn. It's a testament to the idea that truth and persistence can topple even the most arrogant empires. It's a call to believe in yourself, to dig deep when life hits you hard, and to trust that the scales will balance if you play your cards right. For anyone who's ever felt powerless against a system or a person, this story says, you're not powerless. You've got a spark, a skill, a way to push back, and when you use it, the world notices. Personal perspective on the story. From my angle, this story hits home because it's about reclaiming what's yours in a world that loves to take. I've always admired people like Jack, folks who don't waste energy on tantrums but channel it into something unstoppable. What gets me is how he turned pain into power. Losing those cars wasn't just a property hit. It was personal, a gut punch to his past. Yet he didn't break. He built a case, rallied the neighbors, and let Linda dig her own grave. That's badass, but it's also human. I think we've all got a little Jack in us, that quiet fire that flares up when someone crosses a line. And Linda? She's the villain we love to hate. Arrogant, entitled, blind to the storm she's brewing. Her fall feels so good because it's earned step by step. To me, this isn't just a tale of payback. It's a mirror. It asks, what would you do if someone smashed your sanctuary? Would you fold, or would you fight smart? I like to think I'd choose the latter, and this story makes me believe I could. Loved this tale of justice and vintage vengeance? Then you've got to stick around for more. Hit that subscribe button for Story Precious right now, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. We're bringing you the wildest, most gripping stories every week. Tales of triumph, twists, and takedowns that'll keep you hooked. Want more epic showdowns like Jack versus Linda? Story Precious is your spot for the latest videos, fresh off the press. Join the crew, drop a like, and let us know in the comments. What would you do if an HOA Tyrant came for your dreams? Subscribe today, and let's keep the stories rolling.